Hello, good day everyone. I am going to discuss today the introduction to philosophy. To start with, let's have the learning objectives. The first objective is to identify the origin or history of philosophy. Second, to determine the value and the beginning of philosophy. Third, to understand the reasons why philosophy is important or why are we going to study philosophy, and to enumerate the branches of philosophy and its importance. So, let's start to have the introduction to the philosophy of the human person. So, where does philosophy come from? So, it comes from the Greek word philosophia, means the love of wisdom, the love which means philia in Greek, and wisdom, Sophia, or in other words, philosophia means the love of wisdom or pursuit of knowledge. So we have here the equivalence word for philosophia in Sanskrit, Chinese, and Japanese. And these are darshana, jishue, and tetsugaku. Darshana in Sanskrit, which means vision, more precisely vision of ultimate reality. Jishue for Chinese, pronounced something like jushui, which means wise study. Tetsugaku for Japanese, which means wise learning. So these are the equivalent words for philosophy in Sanskrit, Chinese, and Japanese. Next, so we have here the three most basic philosophical questions. That why are we going to study what's what, which means the reality, what's good about this, it's the value about this philosophy, and what do we know? What do we know? So that this is the knowledge and truth. So we have here the origin of philosophy according to Aristotle. It started with him when because for him philosophy arises from wonder, and at times he is greatly terrified that the events of life and death mystify him. So he begins to reflect. So we have here, he thinks that the events can be explained by powers given to man. And that realization, he controls to control them by means of magical spells. So this magic gives way to science, to philosophy, and religion. And magic becomes science when natural events begin to be explained and controlled with the help of natural causes. So we have here the value of philosophy. Why are we going to study philosophy? So it is considered as mother of all sciences. It explores the basic sources and aims of life. It clarifies life and the basic values of life, and it helps to coordinate the various activities of the individuals in the society. So reasons why philosophy is important. Philosophy helps us be reasonable. So learning to be reasonable because we all have to make choices and accomplish goals. Second, it helps us be moral. Why be moral? Because our decisions can help or hurt people. Those who specialize in morality are called or can be called philosophers. And philosophers provide us with moral theories and the most reasonable methods of making moral decisions. Take note, moral decisions. So third, it offers us knowledge. And we have here developed natural science, logic, and logic will be explained in the next slides. So even the highly speculative areas of philosophy involving the nature of reality, mental causation, the nature of mathematics, the nature of morality, and controversial applied ethics involves a great deal of knowledge. So philosophy offers us knowledge. Next, it is enjoyable. Why it is enjoyable? Because it gives us good for its own sake. Because it's a good kind of knowledge to have, even when it's not used for anything. So it is enjoyable. Next, it helps lead to many of the greatest events. When we look at our history and other cultures, their philosophy is a reflection of the greatness of their entire civilization. Next, we have here, it satisfies our sense of being a human being in a unique way. There is a thirst for knowledge of the most difficult issues, reality, reasonableness, and ethics. Next, it helps us a better life. So one, a good life can be in part a philosophical life. Two, it can help us decide how our lives can be improved. So by this, philosophy can help us live a better life in two ways. Again, the first one to be a good life. A good life can be in part a philosophical life. The second one is it can help us decide our lives can be improved. So it's very important to study philosophy here. Next, it helps us identify deception. Okay, deception. We know many religions are wrong and use manipulative techniques similar to cults, right? We know advertising agencies, propaganda, and politicians try to deceive people because they are often successful at doing so. But because of philosophy, we can identify deception. Next, it helps us understand the history of thought because philosophy can teach you the history that is often taken out of history books. Okay, and the history of worldviews and thought itself. Next, it helps us be more creative. Philosophy can help us learn how to think more creatively. Philosophy can help make the world a better place. The horrors of the world can often be attributable to a defect of the culture rather than just an isolated case of immorality. Our lack of reasonableness and lack of moral knowledge is part of our culture. If philosophy becomes widespread, then our entire culture will be improved and the behavior of people within the culture will be improved. So this is a holistic way to make the world a better place to live. So these are the reasons why philosophy is important. So I have here 11 reasons why philosophy is important. Again, you can have it there. Philosophy helps us be reasonable. It helps us be moral until philosophy can help make the world a better place. So what is the beginning of philosophy? It starts with Herodotus. Herodotus is the Greek historian, and an introduction to philosophy by George Start Fullerton for the verb to philosophize. And we have here Miletus, the Thales of Miletus. So we are told that he assumed water to be the universal principle out of which all things are made. Anaximander, the next in life, assumed as the source out of which all things proceed and that to which they all return, the infinite. So Anaximander is famous of the infinite and indeterminate. So we have here Marcus Tullius Cicero. He describes himself as a philosopher, and his business was an investigation into the nature of things. So these people are great contributors of the beginnings of philosophy. So we have here, so let's continue with the branches of philosophy. The first one is logic. So logic is concerned with reasoning and especially the distinction between good reasoning and bad reasoning. And logic is a term used to describe the various types of reasoning structures, the relationship of ideas, deduction and inference, and in modern times. And of course, We have epistemology. Epistemology is the word comes from two Greek words, episteme, meaning knowledge, and logos, meaning history. So the theory, epistemology is the theory of knowledge. Next, metaphysics. It refers to the attempt to describe the nature of reality. Traditional metaphysical issues include the existence of God and the nature of human free will, assuming we have any. Next, it examines also the real nature of things as opposed to their apparent constitution. Axiology. Axiology is a branch of philosophy that studies value, and it has three branches also. The three branches of axiology are ethics, aesthetics, and logic. Ethics, so discusses the criteria of right and good, the study of moral standards and how they affect human conduct. It is the branch of philosophy which helps in clarifying moral terms and concepts, and also known as moral philosophy, the most accessible and human of all the branches of philosophy. Second, aesthetics discusses the nature, aesthetics, the nature and criteria of beauty, branch of philosophy concerned with the nature and appreciation of art, beauty, and good taste. It has also been defined as critical reflection in art, culture, and nature. And it also derives from the Greek aesthetikos, meaning of sense perceptions, logic. Studies truth, Greek from the Greek word logos, which has a variety of meaning, including a word, thought, an idea, argument, account, reason, or principle. It is a study of reasoning, also deductive and inductive reasoning, or the study of the principles and criteria of valid inference and demonstration, like logic that studies truth, if it's true, if it's false, the validity of a certain reasoning. And we have here references of my lesson, Introduction to Philosophy. And that would be all for today. Thank you so much, everyone.